This week on Brian Ross Investigates, showdown with a billionaire. Jeff Bezos has worked hard to keep unions out of the company he founded and that has made him rich. But now organizers at an Amazon facility in Alabama are making the biggest push yet to unionize.
It doesn't matter how much Amazon is paying them if they don't treat them with respect, if they don't acknowledge their humanity.
Amazon pays more than $15 an hour to its warehouse workers, but many say the working conditions are harsh and stressful.
It's tough.
No one wants to come to work and be treated like a machine and treated like they're nothing.
Plus, rock groups and movie stars all have their fan clubs, and so do convicted murderers like Todd Mullis, the Iowa farmer found guilty of killing his wife.
He couldn't have killed her. He's not that type of person.
We'll meet the woman who formed the Facebook group to support Mullis and try to prove him innocent.
I will admit, I had a little crush at the beginning.
Why does she do it? And this week's winners and losers in the media. See if you agree with the choices made by the editors of Mediaite. From the Law&Crime Trial Network, this is Brian Ross Investigates. Good evening, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to our viewers on Facebook Live. I'm Brian Ross, joined by my colleague Rhonda Schwartz at Law&Crime. And Rhonda, we begin with the showdown with a millionaire. Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world, and he recently stepped down as the CEO of Amazon. But he still is the central figure in an effort by a union, a major union, to unionize employees at an Amazon facility in Alabama. If they are successful, it could have major implications for the huge company. Rhonda?
There are 5,800 workers at the huge Amazon warehouse in Alabama who are voting this week on whether to join a union. And if they vote yes, there could be big ramifications for Amazon's operations around the country and a big victory for the retail, wholesale, and department store union that started it all, Brian.
Amazon is proud of the system it has created to deliver so much, so quickly to so many Americans.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done.
It's the talk of the business community.
Amazon acquired its undisputed status as the heavyweight champion of the retail universe thanks largely to its lightning-fast delivery times.
But some workers at its so-called fulfillment centers, including this one in Alabama, say that the amazing distribution system has come at a huge price for Amazon workers who complain of harsh conditions and unrelenting deadlines. Efforts to unionize the workforce in Alabama are underway, with workers voting over the next few weeks about whether to join the retail, wholesale, and department store union. We're joined now by two employees at that Amazon facility in Alabama, Jennifer and Irvin, both of whom have been connected with us through the union. Thank you both for being here. Jennifer, you were telling me before we began that you actually are in physical pain working your 10-hour shifts there.
Yes, I am.
What's it like?
It's tough, especially when it's time to go to break and you're thinking about, should I take the chance of walking out or should I just stay where I am?
And Irvin, do you feel the same sort of thing? Are there physical pressures as well as mental stress in the job there?
I do. I really do. As far as climbing the stairs sometimes, the repetitive movement and things of that nature. Some jobs you have to do the repetitive movement, but to be worked like a robot, so to speak, treated like a number instead of a person. No one wants to come to work and be treated like a machine and treated like they're nothing.
And Irvin, finally, let me ask you this: if it's so bad, why not just quit and find another job?
Easier said than done. With the economy being how it is and with the pandemic, jobs are slim to none. And I really do feel like Amazon has potential to be a better company than it is now, with the right leadership.
Amazon says it pays all of its workers at least $15 an hour and provides career opportunities, and that workers already get generous benefits and health care without a union. And now the company has started a national media campaign with television ads proclaiming what a fine company it is.
I love that everybody is helpful here. Work friends turn into work family.
And how well its workers are treated.
To all of our Amazon retail heroes, we'll continue to do everything we can to keep you healthy, safe, and protected.
We're joined now by Stuart Applebaum, who's the president of the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union. Mr. Applebaum, thank you for being here. Amazon says it pays more than the minimum wage. It pays more than $15 an hour and provides all the benefits that your workers would get if they were in your union.
People say to us all the time that it doesn't matter how much Amazon is paying them if they don't treat them with respect, if they don't acknowledge their humanity. And that is why there is such an enormous turnover at Amazon's facilities. It doesn't matter what they're being paid if Amazon keeps on treating them the way they do.
And by that, what do you mean?
Well, people feel dehumanized and mistreated. People get their assignments from a robot. They're disciplined by an app on their phone. They're fired by a text message. They're forced to work at a pace that is unsustainable. People get injured in Amazon facilities. People were getting sick and dying even before the pandemic.
Jeff Bezos was one of his core principles as he took over and built Amazon into the behemoth that it is, has always opposed unions. How hard are they fighting you now?
Amazon is conducting one of the most aggressive anti-union campaigns we have ever seen. They are bombarding people with their anti-union propaganda that even when you go to the bathroom, in the bathroom stalls, they have anti-union messages posted at eye level if you're sitting on the toilet. That's how expensive their campaign is.
It's just this one facility in Alabama. Why is Amazon fighting so hard over that one facility? And should you win there and you certify the union, what are the implications of that?
Well, I think we have to look at the implications. Amazon understands that this is the first time ever that there has been an election at one of their fulfillment centers for the entire workforce. If the workers prevail and the union is certified, that is going to start an organizing effort at not just Amazon facilities all over the country, but it's going to ignite an organizing movement at companies all across this country. I mean, what really bothers me is that our message is a simple one. We are saying that Amazon can do better by its employees. And Jeff Bezos is privileged enough to be in a position where he is able to do better. And we do not understand why he doesn't.
All right, Stuart Applebaum, thank you so much for joining, the president of the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We asked Amazon to provide a spokesperson to appear in our program, but they declined. Coming up, a convicted killer in Iowa and the support group he has on Facebook. Why do they do it? You're watching Brian Ross Investigates on the Law and Crime Trial Network. Rock stars, movie stars, professional athletes all have their fan clubs, but so do accused and convicted killers, as Rhonda and I discovered as we put together a 10-part series by Law and Crime for the A&E network on killer cases. This Thursday at 10 o'clock in A&E, we'll profile the case of Todd Mullis, an Iowa farmer who was convicted of killing his wife. He has now got a large group of supporters, more than 600 people, who maintain he is innocent, Rhonda.
That's right. Todd Mullis is an Iowa farmer who's accused of killing his wife on the farm with a pitchfork, but he has a large group of online followers who believe he was wrongly convicted, and he maintains his innocence. It's a fascinating case, Brian.
In an odd but chilling new case out of Iowa, Todd Mullis is accused of murdering his wife Amy with a corn rake.
She fell on a fork and I pulled a goddamn fork out of her.
It was very difficult to buy that story.
Amy was quite unhappy and was actually thinking about leaving Todd. There were aspects of an affair.
You believe the last time you saw her that you did have some type of sexual relation.
I started watching the first day and I was hooked.
Todd Mullis looking at a big penalty if he's convicted.
You know, the case kind of took off.
It was compelling.
He killed Amy before me. Now I can understand why.
And could not believe that this man was being tried for this. He couldn't have killed her.
There's a search for what did ancient cultures do to infidelity. Did you do that search?
No.
16 facts about cheating women. Did you do that search?
No.
Todd, did you ambush your wife Amy in that shed that day and brutally beat her and chop her up with that corn fork?
No, I did not.
You know who did?
I have no idea.
We're joined now by Tracy DeRitter, who lives in upstate New York, nowhere near Iowa, but has formed a Facebook group, Todd Mullis is Innocent, with some 600 people online, all in support of Todd Mullis. Tracy, thanks for being here. Looking forward to seeing you on the program this Thursday night. But why do you do it?
Thanks for having me back, Brian. Because I believe Todd's innocent. He was wrongly convicted. So we're trying to fight for his innocence and hopefully get him released from prison.
He testified at the trial and in his recent sentencing, where he's sentenced to life in prison. He also, again, maintained his innocence.
Yes.
Todd, did you ambush your wife Amy in that shed that day and brutally beat her and chop her up with that corn fork?
No, I did not.
Tracy, one of the big issues is whether he was in a shed with his son. His wife was found dead about 100 yards away from where he was. You maintain he couldn't have done that without being noticed by his son, who testified he never was away from his father that long.
Correct. Todd and Tristan, his son, were working in the pig barn, and Amy had left to get something out of a red shed that was quite a distance away, as you saw on the diagram. Tristan saw his mom walk towards the shed to retrieve the item, and Todd was still in the pig barn with Tristan working. Todd could not have reached the red shed where Amy was found in the amount of time it took for her to die. So it just is scientifically impossible.
As you know, prosecutors said, well, the son did testify that his father was away from him for a short time, opening the possibility he could have done it. Tracy, a question for you from Rhonda Schwartz. Rhonda?
I've been following the Facebook group, and these are very in-depth postings. People seem to be studying the evidence. Tell us a little bit more about the effort that's going into this and the people on the Facebook page.
I'm really impressed with everyone that's joined the group so far. Some real in-depth questions and members wanting to actually go to the farm and do their own testing and see how long it would take to get from point A to point B. Just a lot of real good insight and things that, frankly, his defense lawyer should have done to begin with that we did not see in the trial. So we're trying to do everything we can to show everyone that he is innocent and to hopefully someday get him released from prison.
Tracy, as you know, on the last day of the evidence being presented, there was a surprise. Prosecutors heard from a tipster that if they heard the 911 call that Todd made about his wife's injury, and he was giving her CPR, you could hear him under his breath muttering some words about, "You should die." Let's listen to that clip and tell me what you hear.
The tipster said he could hear him saying, "Cheating whore." And a few seconds later, "Go to hell, cheating whore."
So, Tracy, could you hear that?
No, Brian, I did not hear that. I heard him, Todd, counting, doing CPR. I heard 4. I heard she's cold. And that's the consensus in the group as well, that he was counting and he was out of breath and breathing heavy from performing CPR on Amy. But no, we did not hear cheating whore or go to hell.
One of the issues his lawyer raised unsuccessfully in trying to get a new trial was that this was wrong for the prosecutors to present this at the very last minute as they did. What do you think about that? Do you think that's an issue that's going to become important?
I believe it is, yes. When someone tells you what they hear in a recording, like the prosecution did with the jury, sometimes the power of suggestion is greater than what is really there. And once the jury maybe heard cheating whore, that's what they were then listening for. So maybe they heard that, but without her bringing that into the trial and telling the jury that's what he said, I think it would have been a more fair tape and a better for the jury to hear without that suggestion, because then that could possibly be what they're looking for.
As you know, Todd Mullis is now serving life in prison without the possibility of parole. Have you had any further contact with him, and how do you think he's doing behind bars?
We haven't had much contact. Several of our members of the group have written to Todd. Not much communication since he got to prison and got his life sentence. But we continue to write, try to keep his spirits up. He's got to be really struggling. I know he misses his children. So whether he responds or not, we will continue to write to him and hopefully keep him upbeat and positive.
And finally, why do you think there are so many people attracted to this Facebook page and to his case?
I think people can see when someone's wrongly convicted, which we believe Todd is, and he's innocent. The evidence shows that plainly. And when we see that someone is fighting for their life and has been wrongly convicted, it's only the right thing to do is try to help that person.
So you're going to keep going? Are you still optimistic you can turn this around?
I believe so, yes. The corny saying, the truth will come out, I do believe that. And I think someday Todd Mullis will be free.
All right, Tracy DeRitter of the Facebook page, Todd Mullis is innocent. Thank you so much for being with us. And our report on this killer case on the A&E Network on Thursday night at 10 o'clock. Tracy, thanks for being here. Coming up next, this week's winners and losers in the media. Controversy at the White House in the press room. The honeymoon is over. You're watching Brian Ross Investigates on the Law and Crime Trial Network. Time now for this week's winners and losers in the media, as chosen by the editors of Mediaite. And we're joined by Aidan McLaughlin, who is the editor-in-chief of Mediaite, which, like the Law and Crime Trial Network, is part of the Dan Abrams Media Company. And Aidan, winners and losers all wrapped up today in the controversy at the White House. Give us an info on what's going on.
That's right. So T.J. Ducklow, who is was the deputy White House press secretary, I should say, just resigned on Saturday night. Now, he had been placed on a one-week leave from the White House after it was reported by Vanity Fair that he had called up a Politico reporter and made threats to her. He said, apparently on the call, he said, "I will destroy you if you report the story that she was looking into." And he also made some sort of derogatory, misogynistic comments on the call, according to this Vanity Fair report. Now, to just give you a little background on what the reporter that he called up was reporting on to cause this sort of furious call, the reporter, who's Tara Palmieri of Politico, was looking into his relationship with another reporter, Alexi McCammond of Axios. And they had been dating. Alexi McCammond actually was covering the Biden campaign in the Biden White House. So there was a little bit of a conflict there between this communications professional and the reporter covering the White House that he was serving in. So on Inauguration Day, T.J. Ducklow calls up Tara Palmieri and threatens her and says, if you report on my relationship, I will destroy you. And he made some other sort of sexist comments to her about her personal life. which were really over the line. Now, it was an off-the-record conversation between the deputy press secretary and Tara Palmieri, the reporter, but it eventually leaked out to Vanity Fair some weeks later when it was reported by Vanity Fair. After that, Jen Psaki, the press secretary in the Biden White House, got questioned about it at a press briefing. She said that Ducklo was being placed on a one-week leave without pay, and a couple days later, it was announced that he was resigning from the White House. That was on Saturday night.
So Tara Palmieri had a perfectly good story. She was browbeaten by this guy with some pretty vile language. And yet, after President Biden said he would fire somebody on the spot, were rude to others, that didn't happen on the spot, did it?
Yeah, exactly. So a bunch of people brought this up after Vanity Fair reported it, that Joe Biden said when he first got into office that if he hears anyone disrespecting someone in his White House, that they would be fired on the spot. Now, I think the real sort of controversy here for the White House is that the White House knew back right when this call was made, which was on Inauguration Day on January 20th, because Politico editors went to the White House and said that this threat was made to one of their reporters. And the White House apologized. They had TJ Ducklo apologize to Tara Palmieri, and they said that she wouldn't have to deal with him. But they didn't apparently take any other action. And from all we can see, from what we know from this Vanity Fair report, this was very obviously a fireable offense to threaten a reporter and say such vile things to them, even in an off-the-record conversation. So I think the fact that the Biden administration sort of glossed over it for a couple weeks and only fired TJ Ducklo, or I shouldn't say fired, he resigned, only really pushed him out when Vanity Fair was reporting this publicly. It was a really sort of a black eye on the Biden communications team. And it's obviously the first controversy that they've gone through in the first couple of weeks of the administration.
All right, Aidan, thank you so much for joining, and thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. And thanks to the team at Law&Crime for getting us on the air and getting us off the air so well.